In a cozy little coop on a bright sunny morning, a tiny egg began to wobble and shake. It wiggled and jiggled, then with a little crack, a small beak poked through the shell. One by one, fluffy yellow chicks hatched all around, peeping a soft hello to the world. They were all the same, like little drops of sunshine. But the last egg was different. When it finally cracked open, out popped a chick who wasn't yellow at all. He was covered in the most amazing, brilliant colours. His feathers were red and blue, green and purple, a tiny rainbow in the nest. The little yellow chicks huddled together, their eyes wide with wonder. They had never seen a chick like this before. "Who are you?" peeped a little yellow chick named Pip. The colourful chick puffed out his chest and stood up as tall as he could. "I am Chirpy," he announced in a loud, proud voice, "and I am not like you." He flapped his tiny wings, showing off the bright red tips and the swirl of blue on his back. The other chicks just stared, amazed by his beautiful feathers. They had never seen anything so bright and wonderful on their farm before. Chirpy looked at his reflection in a shiny puddle of water. He saw his own splendid colours and felt a great big feeling of pride well up inside him. He was special. He was unique. He wasn't just a plain old yellow chick, oh no, he was a masterpiece, a walking, pecking work of art. He spun around, making his purple tail feathers dance in the sunlight. He thought to himself, "There is no one else in the whole wide world quite as magnificent as me." This thought made him feel very important and very grand. The mother hen clucked lovingly at all her new babies. "Come along, little ones," she said gently. "It's time to learn how to peck for yummy seeds." The little yellow chicks all followed their mother, stumbling over their own feet in their excitement, but Chirpy stayed behind. He admired his colourful wings and thought that pecking in the dirt was far too messy for someone as beautiful as him. He was sure his colours were a sign that he was destined for much greater things than just being an ordinary chick on an ordinary farm. The little yellow chicks loved to play games in the warm green meadow. They would chase after wiggly worms and play hide and seek among the tall, sweet-smelling flowers. "Chirpy, come play with us," called Pip, his voice full of fun. "We are playing tag!" But Chirpy just shook his head. He sat on a smooth grey stone, preening his bright feathers so they would shine even more. "No, thank you," he said, looking down his beak. "I am far too special for such silly games. My feathers might get dirty." The yellow chicks were very kind and friendly. They didn't understand why Chirpy didn't want to join in their fun, but they didn't let it stop them from being nice. "Would you like to help us build a nest from twigs?" asked a little chick named Fluff. They were trying their best to include him, wanting to share their happy day. But Chirpy simply turned his back. He thought playing with plain yellow chicks was beneath him. He was a rainbow, and they were just yellow. He imagined he was a king sitting on his throne. Day after day, the yellow chicks would invite Chirpy to play. "Let's splash in the puddle," they would cheep. "Let's see who can jump the highest," they would chirp. They were humble and good-natured, always ready to share their games and their friendship. Even when Chirpy ignored them or said something proud, they would just smile and go on with their play. They loved their simple yellow feathers and the fun they had together, and they wished their colourful brother would see how wonderful it was to have friends. Chirpy spent his days strolling around the farm by himself, showing off his colours to the cows and the sheep. "Look at me," he would say. "Aren't I just the most beautiful chick you have ever seen?" The other animals would nod politely, but Chirpy didn't notice that he was all alone. He thought being special was company enough. He didn't need friends when he had his own amazing colours to look at. He was so busy being proud that he didn't realise how lonely he was becoming, one colourful feather at a time. One afternoon, the bright blue sky began to change. Big grey clouds rolled in, covering the sun like a giant blanket. A rumble echoed in the distance, growing louder and louder. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, raindrops began to fall, first slowly and then all at once. It was a great big storm. The little yellow chicks scurried for cover under their mother hen's warm wings. "Hurry, hurry," she clucked, gathering them close. The wind howled and the rain poured down in sheets, turning the dusty farmyard into a muddy, splashy mess. Chirpy was caught out in the open, far from the coop. He had been admiring his reflection in the farmer's shiny bucket when the storm began. The rain soaked his beautiful feathers, making them feel heavy and droopy. He tried to run for cover, but the water streamed down, washing over him again and again. It wasn't a gentle sprinkle, it was a hard, washing rain that seemed to go right through to his skin. He huddled under a large leaf, shivering and wet as the storm raged on around him, the thunder booming like a giant's drum. After what felt like a very long time, the rain stopped. The clouds parted and the sun peeked out once more. Chirpy shook his wet feathers, but they didn't fluff up in their usual bright way. He felt strangely plain. He walked over to a big puddle that the storm had left behind. He leaned over to look at his reflection, expecting to see his wonderful red, blue, and purple feathers. But the chick looking back at him was not a rainbow chick. The chick in the puddle was plain and yellow, just like all the others. A great big sadness filled Chirpy's heart. The rain had washed all his special colors away. He was no longer a rainbow chick. He was just a simple, ordinary yellow chick. He hung his head in shame, remembering how proud he had been. He thought of all the times the other chicks had asked him to play, and how he had turned them away. Now he was just like them, but he had been so unkind. He worried that they would never want to be his friend now. He felt more alone than ever before. Chirpy sat by the puddle, a single tear rolling down his little cheek. He felt so ashamed of how he had acted. What was so special about him now? He was just a wet, sad yellow chick. Just then, he heard a soft peeping behind him. It was Pip and Fluff, and all the other yellow chicks. They weren't laughing at him, they weren't pointing at his plain feathers. Instead, their little faces looked kind and worried. "Are you okay, Chirpy?" Pip asked gently, hopping a little closer to him. Chirpy looked up, surprised. "You want to talk to me?" he whispered. "But my colors are all gone. I'm not special anymore." Fluff shook her head. "We never cared about your colors, Chirpy," she said softly. "We just wanted to be your friend." As she spoke, the sun shone even brighter, and a magnificent, colorful rainbow stretched across the sky right above them. It was even more beautiful than Chirpy's feathers had ever been, a promise of sunshine after the rain. The chicks all looked up at it in awe. Pip hopped forward and nudged Chirpy with his wing. "The storm is over," he chirped. "Do you want to come and play tag with us now?" A real smile spread across Chirpy's face for the first time. He wasn't special on the outside anymore, but he felt a warmth growing on the inside. It was the feeling of kindness and forgiveness. "Yes," he peeped happily. "I would love to play." He finally understood that being part of a group was much better than being special all by himself. And so, Chirpy the little yellow chick ran off to play with his new friends. They chased each other through the wet grass, their happy peeps filling the air. Chirpy learned that day that it wasn't the color of your feathers that made you special. It was the kindness in your heart and the joy of having friends to share your days with. As they played together under the beautiful arch of the sky, Chirpy knew he had found a true rainbow, a rainbow of friendship that would never wash away.